Welcome back, Hornets, and here we are again for another round of Ready Language Handbook. Woohoo! And we are staying with our sentence structure that we've been working on. We've done phrases and clauses, adjective phrases and clauses, and adverb phrases and clauses. And now we're going to take that phrases and clauses that we've been working on and work on lots of clauses. And we're going to get into simple and compound sentences today. So you need out your ready workbook, and it should be open to page 237. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over some notes from that you've already written down. So these should you should have in your source book. And the very first edits simple and compound sentences. And to go over what you have in your source book, and I'm actually pulling this straight from page 237 for the most part. So that sentences have to have at least, in order for it to be considered a sentence, it has to have at least one clause, which includes a noun or pronoun, which is the subject of the sentence, and a verb, which is also part of the predicate. Okay, the noun or pronoun tell us who or what is doing something in the sentence, and the verb or predicate tells us what that subject is doing. So, in order to have a simple sentence, we have to start out with our independent clause that I like to label as IC. And once again, it can stand alone. Okay, an independent clause is just a fancy name for calling it a simple sentence. Every simple sentence is an independent clause. Every independent clause has the potential to be a simple sentence. In the example that we've got here, pulled from Harry Potter since we've already read it, the escape of the Brazilian boa constrictor earned Harry his longest ever punishment. Well, my subject is everybody wants to tell me boa constrictor. No, because of the Brazilian boa constrictor is a prepositional phrase. It's actually the escape. And what did it do? It earned Harry his longest ever punishment, right? So my subject is escape, and my verb is earned, and earned Harry his longest ever punishment is the rest of the predicate. Since I only have one subject, escape, and I only have one predicate, earned, I have a simple sentence, which means it is also an independent clause. Now, the next thing we're going to get into are compound sentences. And compound sentences is where we start adding things up and mushing things together. A compound sentence, just like when you have a compound subject, means you have two subjects in one sentence. A compound verb means you have two verbs and one predicate. A compound sentence means I have two sentences in one sentence, which means that I will have two independent clauses or two simple sentences joined together by, and right now there are a couple of ways, but we're going to look at using a comma with a coordinating conjunction, which Miss Murray also uses the acronym FAMBOYS, which is for and not, but, or, yet, and so. And the example I've got down here for us is we're going to look at is Harry was glad school was over, but there was no escaping Dudley's gang. And I'm going to show this, I'm going to let you look at this two ways. The first way, we're just going to break this sentence down. My subject of the sentence is Harry. What did Harry? And Harry was glad school was over. So I also have there, which is a pronoun to place, and also was. I have my coordinating conjunction with a comma. I'm circling the comma and the coordinating conjunction. I want to make sure we always have that punctuation. And if we notice that comma is attached to the word in front of the coordinating conjunction, it's not attached to the coordinating conjunction. So I have one independent clause right here. And then I have another independent clause down here. So I've got two ICs. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to erase my board real quick. I could take and scratch all this out. And I could put a period right there and say, Harry was glad school was over. And the sentence could be done. Right? I could also scratch all this out, capitalize that T, and say there was no escaping Dudley's gang. That is also an independent clause. It's a complete sentence all by itself, right? So, and in order though to put these together, I have to use this coordinating conjunction. And I can take these two independent clauses and turn them into one sentence. So I'm going to show you, we're going to look at the rest of your slide. And this is what the other thing I've got. Same sentence, but just different ways to look at how to break it down. Okay. Harry was glad school was over, but there was no escaping Dudley's gang. You've got the box right here that has showed you your independent clause on one side with the comma, your independent clause on the other side, which with a period, I guess I should have start adding that in. Okay. Or a question mark or an exclamation point. But same thing. I still have Harry as my subject, and he was glad. Over here, I have there was my subject and still was. And there's my entire list of fanboys that's going to go in the middle. And this one I'm using but. And we're going to practice some more with this throughout the week. So no worries if you don't absolutely get it right now. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and look at our workbook page on page 237. Okay. So on page 237, we are looking at, first thing that we do is we're going to box our title because we should have, yep. And we just said that a simple sentence, means it's going to have a subject and a verb. And a compound sentence means it's going to have a subject and a verb, comma, plus a subject and a verb. Remember, all of these are my independent clauses, okay? Independent clause, independent clause. It can stand alone. It does not need any help, right? So we've already gone all over this, but once again, a simple sentence contains one independent clause. Subject, my great-grandmother Lucy, because Lucy is my subject, was born in Oklahoma in 1911. Prepositional phrase, and was born is my verb. And it makes sense. It's all by itself, okay? Now, remember, once again, a compound sentence is made up of two or more independent clauses, and it is joined by the coordinating conjunction. We've got and, or, so, but, yet. We also left out for. Yeah, okay. So for, and also nor. It's not listed, so we want to make sure we have those. All right. Now, and we also have to make sure that comma comes between the first clause and the conjunction. And we'll look at the example that you've got in your workbook. Independent clause 1 says Lucy's sister, Rosalie, was born in 1913. Lucy, Rosalie was our subject and was born is our verb, comma, in a coordinating conjunction. Her other sister, Rutha, was born in 1915. So we've got Rutha was born in 1915. We have two sentences joined together with a comma and the coordinating conjunction and. And just like I'm going to show you don't have to write this because I don't want anybody messing up their workbook completely. What I want you to see, though, is I can cut all this out, take it away, put a period right there, and I have a complete sentence all on its own. Lucy's sister, Rosalie, was born in 1913, period. All right. Same token, I can do the exact same thing on the other side, and I can get rid of all of this and say her other sister, Rotha, was born in 1915. Okay. They are both sentences that make sense all on their own with no help whatsoever. Now, it is great getting able to put that comma and that coordinating conjunction in there because that lets me know that this is supposed to be a compound sentence. Okay. Next slide. Erase. Okay. All right. So this is just a little quick reminder of our fanboys for us, coordinating conjunctions. Or the fanboys used to create compound sentences by separating two independent clauses by using a comma and the fanboy. And I have a student, I've got my example up here, and it's that students hate writing compound sentences. Oh, comma, but teachers love making students write them. I have students as my subject, hate is my verb, I have teachers as my subject, love is my verb. So I have two independent clauses. Woohoo! Look at our actual guided practice we have at the bottom. So, and I'm going to give you Miss Murray's. Well, let's look at our directions first, okay? And they say to write simple on the line next to simple sentences. Remember, simple means we're looking for one independent clause. Or write compound next to each compound sentence. And remember, compound means we're looking for an independent clause plus another independent clause. Usually it's got a comma and a fanboy. One of our fanboys. Okay. So, and then we're going to circle the conjunction that joins the two clauses. So I'm going to switch to a different page. It's got a little bit bigger so I can write on it. All right. So now I'm going to give you my cheat. My fanboys, I've got for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And I know that it's going to have a comma attached to the word in front of it as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that right there. Now, I'm going to go through, and before I even read any of these, I'm going to go through and find my conjunctions, all of my coordinating conjunctions, whether they have a comma or not. So let's see, I've got and is a comma. I'm going to put a CC above it. It's a coordinating conjunction. Yet is a coordinating conjunction. And is a coordinating conjunction. Or is a coordinating conjunction. Let's see. There is no coordinating conjunctions in number 3. Number 4, I've got so is a coordinating conjunction and is a coordinating conjunction. And number 5, I've got but is a coordinating conjunction. Now that I've done that, my next step is to go look for these commas. And if I see a comma in a coordinating conjunction, I'm going to circle the comma and the conjunction together. So back at number 1, there is no comma, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Number 2, there is a comma with that one, but not with and or. Number 3, there was no comma. Number 4, I'm looking, there is a comma right there. Okay, but there isn't one with and. And number 5, there isn't a comma after month, so that's not one. Okay, so I know basically without even reading these sentences, because of the punctuation, that 2 of them are compound, 3 of them are simple. But now we're going to prove it. Okay, so we're going to do some English math in class. So number 1, Lucy's mother and father were both school teachers. Well, you have a compound subject, mother and father, and there's the verb is were. And that is the only subject and verb. So because so that means it is just one independent clause. And if it's only one independent clause, it is a simple sentence. Number 2, they traveled all over Oklahoma. Yet Lucy and her sisters never minded or complained. Well, my subject is they. What did they do? They traveled. And that is they traveled all over Oklahoma. We get to that comma. That comma is like the compound sentence way of putting a period. You could end it right there. So that is letting me know I have another independent clause right there. Then on the other side, I'm going to open my brackets because we have Lucy and her sisters, which is one other subject. Never minded or complained, which is a compound verb. So I have a compound verb. I have a compound sentence with compound verb. Anyway, it's still a compound sentence because I have one independent clause on one side and another independent clause on the other. Number 3, as a young girl, Lucy was always one of the best students in her class. Well, there is no fanboy. There is no coordinated conjunction in that sentence at all. So Lucy is my subject, was is my verb, and everything else is phrases. So we are still left with a simple sentence. Number 4, schools were segregated in Oklahoma in the early 1900s, so Lucy and her sisters attended schools for Black children. Well, schools is my subject, and they were segregated in Oklahoma. Just so y'all can see this, it's a prepositional phrase, and it's a prepositional phrase, okay? So Lucy and her sisters attended schools for Black children. Lucy and her sisters is a subject, and what did? They attended schools for Black children. Okay. And it's got a subject and a verb on one side and a subject and a verb on the other. Even has that comma and that coordinating conjunction. So it's punctuated right. I'm going to put my brackets. That's an independent clause. Lucy and her sisters attend school for Black children. It's another independent clause, which makes this a compound sentence. It's kind of like a math equation. You want them to be equal. What you can do on one side, you need to make sure you do on the other. You need a subject and a verb. It needs to make sense. Then you need that comma and a coordinating conjunction, and then a subject and a verb that makes sense on the other. So number 5, we do have a coordinating conjunction. We've got but there's no comma. So that's letting me know that this is not going to be a compound sentence. So let's see why. Lucy's family did not have much money, but lived happily. My subject is Lucy's is family, and they did not have as my subject, one subject, and lived as another. I have a compound subject. A compound predicate. I apologize, guys. Lucy's family is my subject, did not have is my verb, and lived is my verb. So I have a compound verb, but I do not have a compound sentence because I am missing there is no subject.